Hey, how's everybody doing? Uh, got a little bit more done over here. I don't think you. I don't know. I think it was more on the other side of it, on the like from where I'm at right now, the right end side of it. It was more on the other side, a little bit on the end, but more on the other side. So I don't know if it'll show when I go speedboating past it. What the? Oh shit! I landed the boat way down here. I was a little lightheaded by the end of the stream yesterday. After the stream, I came back over here and just kind of hung out and worked the primitive iron farm. Man, and and this is on me. I'm not blaming, well, a little bit on what's going on with me, but I got that mending, and I was gonna just go around and kill these guys, and I threw it, and it didn't come back, and I'm like, what the hell? And first thought was glitchcraft, and then it dawned on me, I made it without loyalty to use for the killing thing, so it doesn't have loyalty. Otherwise, every time you threw it, it would come back to you. And so I'm like, okay, I can't do that. I It's a long story, but I actually got Spotify back, and I'm really happy on the free version of it. It's got ads, but I'm okay with that. But I can actually watch. I don't really want to watch all of Joe Rogan, but when he's got people like Graham Hancock on, I really like watching those. And that's I started watching it yesterday, and then like I said, I don't even. It wasn't that early, but I wasn't up until late. I was, and the cat. She does this every day, so I'm not blaming her. If I'm feeling okay, I just tell her. I go, hey, I'm not going to bed yet, but I want to say the last 2 3 days when she comes in and starts bugging me about going to bed. I've get after 5 6 6:30, depending on what day it was, somewhere after 5 or 6 o'clock, I started thinking about maybe going to bed early, and so I'd watched maybe 45 minutes of it, and it was like a 3 hour podcast. So I got thinking, I'm like, yeah, I can go to bed. The last couple days before last night, I went earlier. Last night I want to say it was closer to 8 o'clock, but I'm just like, yeah, I can go to bed. I'm kind of feeling like it, and but the thing that got me was uh, they were, I'll try and do a podcast on this and at least go over the highlights. I've already done it a little bit, I think, maybe not, and nope, and but they got talking, and I've kind of not exactly, but I've at least been in this vicinity with some of my thoughts, and some of them I think I've put out. But they were talking about, and I had seen this before. This was not new to me when I heard it, but he went into a little more detail than anybody else had. And there are these things they call the seven wonders of the world. And the Great Pyramids are the only ones that are left. Like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Library of Alexandria. Uh, I can't give you a list of all seven, but because I've been talking about this before. It's like, well, because somebody had made the comment they were talking about the Ark of the Covenant, and I think I chimed in on this actually on the comments section of whatever YouTube video it was. But the thing I said was, because they were talking about, I can't remember exactly what they were talking about, but they were talking about the Ark of the Covenant and some of the other stuff, and I go, well, cause, it was everything I came up with. It was in reaction to what they were saying, and I'm like, well, I go there, and I think some of this is the stuff, and I only get to see whatever they put up on YouTube or elsewhere because I don't think I've ever subscribed to Gaia. Um, Most of what I've experienced from Gaia, it's either when the people that are on Gaia do like an interview somewhere and I catch a clip of it on YouTube or something else, or when Gaia or somebody else puts the Gaia programming or the Gaia clips up on YouTube. Maybe even TikTok. I don't use TikTok that much anymore. Um, but and I told him, I go, well, some of the stuff I see, and I think I told him that it was off of Gaia. I go, some of the stuff that's coming out of there, they watch documentaries on this. I don't know if they're from Gaia or not. I think they are, but I'm not 100% sure. But some of these ones I've seen, they talk about like the pyramids of Egypt being built by remnants of Atlantis. And this was something Edgar Casey had said. You can look him up. I did a podcast on him. It's hey, I have good days, I have bad days. I did the best I could, but you can actually go and I don't know if it was before I started putting this stuff on the pod, but it would be an older video. It might be in the podcast section on YouTube. I don't think it would be on Twitch anymore. I think it's gone enough that it's expired. And if I ever get to where I'm feeling good again, I got to start making clips that will remain after but right now I'm at least getting them up to YouTube, and I'm getting a few viewers here and there on Twitch, so that's kind of cool. But I talked about Edgar Casey, and one of the things was because he normally they give him credit. The stuff I've seen, they give him credit for holistic medicine. And apparently, I think it was his wife, she wanted him to do a reading on her, and he diagnosed her with tuberculosis, and sure enough, she had it. And the thing is, he also came up with a way to cure it, and this would have been like, a decade or two before medicine had done it. But it was it's like an apple vinegar or something like that. You had to boil it, and you had to bring it to a boil in a wood casket or a wood barrel, and breathe deeply in the fumes from it. And it cured her. And then when it worked for her, he started recommending other people do it. And that was one of the things. I'm not really pushing for it, but if you're interested in this, and you can skip to probably the last 20-30 minutes of yesterday's fishing stream, but I was talking about the guy that built Coral Castle or something like that. It's a miniature megalithic site in Florida. It was built back in the 1920s or 30s or something like that. A guy came over here from Latvia, and he, without using, because he was out in the sticks. If he'd have ordered any heavy equipment, the townsfolk would have seen it coming in. There wasn't a lot of roads and all this other stuff. The locals would have seen it. He brought in no heavy equipment. Well, he was carving and making things with like 10, 15, 30 ton blocks. And he had no visible means of maneuvering them, let alone the shaping and everything. And they all fit together. They all fit together without mortar, like the old megalithic sites. And there were some kids that, because he wouldn't let anybody around him when he did it. And there were some kids at the time who had snuck around and spied on him. And they said he basically floated these things like helium balloons. And there was like a level 5 hurricane that hit near that, and these things without mortar didn't move. So again, it was built much like the old megalithic sites. And when Edgar Casey did which is rare, usually he did stuff to help people or he looked into the future. Like it was a guy who was a benefactor of his. He told him to get out of the stock market in the late 30s, early 40s. It basically whatever year it was. He told him to get out, and his buddy started to get out. Well, the market was rallying, and his friends were making a shitload of money on the stock market. So he ended up buying back in, and then when the stock market crashed, I don't know if it was a Great Depression or what, but he told him to get out. The guy didn't. Well, he started to, and then he caved, and he fucking lost his ass. He absolutely lost his ass. And what do we got? Okay. And one of the rare streams where he actually looked back, he said that somewhere, it's either, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was either around the Sphinx or it's either around the Sphinx or the Great Pyramids. There's like one of 3 caches of knowledge about Atlantis. And he predicted, like we're within the time period of when he said it would likely be found again. But there was one in Egypt by the pyramids. There was one near Bimini, and I think he said that one was underwater. I'm going from memory, so take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. I might not be in the exact spot, but I'm at least in the zip code for you. And I can't remember where he said the third one was. Well, they were talking about this. They're using new technology, and I think they were using muons or something like that, and they've discovered that there is another void in the pyramids, and it's above where the Great Gallery is. And then he said all they know is there's a void, and it looks like it's roughly the same size as the Great Gallery. And then he said that he's got contacts that assure him that it is like a second Great Gallery. So they must have snaked a camera or something in there. But it isn't official, and he just said, I got a contact who's claiming that. And who knows, maybe it's the repository Edgar Casey was talking about with the stuff on Atlantis. And but like with this discussion, I wish I could remember what the person said. I really do, because it's it would be good for this little discussion here. They but they're talking about Atlantis and like, oh well, it can't be Atlantis because there's nothing left of what they're doing, and yet the Ark of the Covenant is so huge. And I go, yeah, but I go, if they had advanced technology, I go, that might have been wiped out by the floods, by the things Plato said happened to them. And I go, the thing is, uh, and I told him, I go, if we got wiped out, everybody relies on their cell phones, their tablets, their computers. Well, if we got wiped out, most of the people, most of the people in this country could not make a cell phone. They have no idea how to make one. They have no idea to do any of that. And even the ones that did, if the facilities didn't exist, didn't have power, and you didn't have the material for it, you wouldn't be able to build a phone. This was something somebody made the comment, like if, about, and this was in the UFO thing. They were talking about, if Christopher Columbus, who was a leading scholar of his day, he knew and did a lot. Benjamin Franklin, another guy of his day, was incredibly savvy. You could park a fucking nuclear sub in front of either one of those guys, and you could give them an unlimited budget. Whatever they needed, they could buy. Manpower, materials, experts. They would never be able to build you a nuclear sub. I mean, I don't even think they'd be able to get you to the point where you'd be in danger of blowing up from what they were doing. They just couldn't do it. And and that's kind of the thing. If there is UFO stuff out there, it's going to take decades, if not centuries, to uncover. And some of these people, they talk about this stuff that like that memory metal that that was allegedly found at Roswell. They finally came out with something, and like the patents came out right after the Roswell incident. Again, if these people are lying to me, then I'm lying to you, but I'm honestly not doing it on purpose. And the um, but these patents came out like, and it was the stuff that was allegedly found at Roswell. And there was another guy, again, don't know if he's full of shit or not, really don't. I found the story interesting, but he said that that it was something, I can't remember exactly what it was, something that they he's found a patent for, and the stuff he was talking about. And I've seen the Ancient Alien guys talk about this, or the shows on History Channel, that I think it's in India somewhere. It's in another country. Well, they have a structure. I don't know if it's a temple, a house. I don't know what the building was used for, but the different facets of the building all vibrate at different tones. So there's music to it. And there was something he was talking about. It was a patent, and the patent claimed that the material may be able to be created to vibrate at a certain frequency. And this stuff he was telling you about, all this different patents where he said, and pretty much all of these can be traced back to the late 1940s, early 1950s, around Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. It was called Wright Field back then. Now it's called Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, but it used to be called Wright Field. That's what it was called during the Roswell incident. And so I really don't know. But getting back to Edward Casey, when he was talking about the Sphinx and that, the thing he had said was, in his little trance, was that they knew how to float stone on air the same way we float iron on water. That's what he said. Something I might not be exactly word for word, but I'm pretty sure I got that real close. And those kids said the same thing about that one guy. And then the other thing they were talking about on this one was, there's people out there that think and this is the mainstream view, I believe. They think that the Sphinx was built something like 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago. And see, some of this is religion's fault because you've got people who actually don't know, they haven't done the work, they don't have any expertise for it, but they firmly believe that because the Bible said this, that, and the other thing, that the planet is only like 6,000. They're like young Earth creationists, is what they're usually flagged as. And they should be viewed as conspiracy theorists, much like Pizzagate, or much like, uh, somebody got more votes than the other guy, even though all the evidence says he didn't. And but they, and there was a guy, there was an archaeologist or somebody that made this claim a number of years ago, and that's getting to where it's being debunked. And and when you look at this, it's just like I don't know what to tell these people, but more and more the truth is coming out. Because and this was, because they were talking about this, and they go, well, you've got experts, not archaeologists, but actual experts on fields, and they will tell you that the water erosion around the pyramids and the Sphinx date them that there was tens of thousands or more years of water based erosion that you only find with an ocean being nearby and heavy precipitation. It isn't just that there was water there, it had to be precipitation. And from what they're saying, the other thing it also shows is, and this is the thing he was talking about on here. He goes, the Egyptians were very, very precise in their symmetry. Uh, like when you look, I mean, and it isn't just artwork, but it's like sculptures and stuff where they've chiseled them and that. And there's some speculation that maybe they were computer generated because they can't figure out how a human could sit there and chisel an exact profile. Like they could basically chisel a statue or shape a statue by hand and have it that exact on the left and right side. And they just don't understand it. And he said the proportions are wrong. When you look at the Sphinx, the head should be a lot bigger. And he said it's just unbelievable to think that the Egyptians actually did that. The speculation is that somebody carved it. And he's got supporting evidence. So I'm not trying to say this is nuts. I'm just saying I don't know. But he thinks it was originally a lion. And the time period that they suspect that thing was built, it would have, because this thing they explained, and that's another thing they talk about in here. It's always been assumed that the Greek were the first ones to do like the zodiac, that they and math, and there's certain things that they give the Greeks credit for, and clearly this stuff has been found before the Greeks ever existed, and it's the most recent one that Joe Rogan did. I highly recommend you go watch it. It's you gotta it's like 3 hours long, so you gotta be willing to sit through the long haul on it. But they were talking about they found older stuff, geoglyphs, rock cavings, tablets, but they found older stuff, and now that they're looking at it, it's like something about a bowl, a carving of a bowl somewhere, and this. I want to say this goes back like 50 or 100,000 years or something like that. I might be wrong. Again, take everything with a grain of salt because I'm not. I'm feeling okay, but I'm feeling it a little bit today. So just take it with a grain of salt. Even if you want to trust me, trust but verify. Make sure that I'm right on this. I don't want to be somebody spreading misinformation on this, at least not on purpose. And so just with a grain of salt, don't trust it, verify it, and I again might not be 100% right, but I'm at least in the right area. And there was something that there was a grouping of dots with it, and somebody said, well, yeah, that's the constellation of Taurus, which would mean that people were using the constellations long before the Greeks. And the other thing he makes the claim of, and again, I don't know, but he's saying that the Greeks even admitted that they learned a lot from the Egyptians. And like the ancient Egyptians, not like the modern day, like going back to when, they may not have been human. They might have been an alien species or somewhere. They had the big cone heads or whatever. And, but and he said, he goes, and the thing is, like when you look up into the night sky, and he goes, it isn't like it is now. He goes, they could see the stars. He goes, a lot of people cannot see the night sky as our ancestors did, 10,000 years ago or 20,000 years ago, because there's so much air pollution. You got city lights fucking with it. They could see the night sky so much better than what we can. And the thing he said was, every month the sun has a backdrop of one of the zodiac signs. And he goes, so it's unrealistic to think that they wouldn't have seen that, and wouldn't have known anything about it. Like you look up, oh my God, there's a bull, and there's the twins, and whatnot. And and he said that the time period that they suspect the Sphinx was built, they figure it was a lion. And it would have been pointing at the zodiac sign for Leo, the lion, my sign. And the only thing I gotta say is I did see something, and it might come from the Gaia group, but there was somebody there, and this guy knew a little bit about Egypt. He does not think that the Sphinx was actually a lion. And again, I'm not an expert. I'm only repeating what I'm telling. If people are lying to me, then I'm lying to you. But I am absolutely not doing it on purpose. I'm letting you know the background of it. But but I've heard discussions where they think the Sphinx is actually a dog, and like a dog with a jackal's head or something. And there's an old Egyptian god that would be, and it would be a guardian. But there is Egyptian mythology. There isn't too much about lions, but there is about something or someone, whether it's an agent of the gods or one of the gods themselves. But it's a dog's body with a different type of head, and they're like the guardian to the afterlife or some shit like that. And it also goes with some of the old myths from around that time. Again, when they suspect the Sphinx was actually built, not where mainstream thinks it is now, but they said that it's the Sirius. There's a lot of these old legends about aliens or gods or whatever coming from the Sirius B or something like that. And if the uh, but this podcast is really really good, and yeah, they got talking about that, just the different things, and I think of something else I'll do, but that's a fair amount. But it's like really really good when the I gotta say, when he's not trying to push himself off as an expert, and when Joe Rogan is focusing on asking questions, I think he might be one of the best interviewers out there. Maybe not for news, maybe not for like hardcore science, but for like stuff like this, he's one of the best interviewers I think you can have out there. You know, and he has to know a little bit about the stuff to ask the questions, but where, and again, I think a lot of it is because he's been messing with that DMT. That's another thing he talks about with Graham Hancock. Graham Hancock is talking about the Terra Preta, and he is talking about Hiawatha, and I did not know this. I did not know this about the Hiawatha, and there was something else he was talking about. And I was watching it, it was like in the first half hour, 45, hang on. It was in the first half hour, 45 minutes of the thing. He was talking about like that Hiawatha and other stuff, but it's stuff that they are finding out of the Amazon, and this stuff, it's created. It does not come naturally. Like the Hiawatha, I thought it would be something like peyote or whatever, but it has to be made. It's not natural. But he said the ingredients for it on their own do nothing. Like you can get the substance for Hiawatha, and you know let's just, and I don't know what it is, but I don't actually, I didn't even hear it. He doesn't get into like what it's made out of. You know, he's not going to try and he's not going to go on and tell you how to cook meth or any, which is what the government would consider it, and probably try to shut him down. But the individually, you can take the individual components, and they don't get you high. I don't even know if they're healthy, but they will not get you high. You can mix them together. They will not get you high. They have to be prepared in a certain way, and then they get you high as fuck. And there was something else he was talking about. Again, if you get the individual component, none of them do what the mixture does. But when you mix them and cook them together, you know, and I'm saying meth, but you know, it sounds like you've got to have that chemistry professor from. There was a meme that was going around. It was when the Game of Thrones came around to making that dragon glass out of volcanic glass and having it breathed on by dragons, and there there was a meme where, you know, the guys in Game of Thrones are like, it's kind of a blue crystal, and then they put the guy from Breaking Bad, and he goes, I can cook it for you. But they had that guy that was making the meth and baking, he's like, I can cook it for you or whatever. But it sounded like you needed something like that. This stuff just didn't come about on its own. Somebody created it. And he said, it's like a lost technology, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you can accept it or not. It's basically a lost technology. And I'm not kidding you. I mean this sincerely, and I will probably fail. But if I do win the lottery, I will at least look into, if you know, ever. It's never going to happen. But if I do win the lottery, I would, and I'm not smart enough to do it. And even if I was when I was healthy, I wouldn't be able to do it now, because I might make some breakthrough today. And if it isn't documented, if I don't remember every little thing and document it, I might not remember it tomorrow. And but I would really want to get my hands on some of that Terra Preta, and I'd want to get my hands on people a lot smarter than me, and see if we can find a way to make that here, and start doing like a Terra Preta over here, because when they talk about that, it's like this. It's also called like the black soil of the Amazon or something like that. Well, the way they talk about it, when you have that Terra Preta, it like let's say you have a 1 acre plot of the Terra Preta. He was talking. It replenishes itself, so you don't need fertilizer or any of that shit, which he said it seems like it's harmful for the soil anyways. And but he goes, it replenishes itself, and in certain circumstances, like if you're not planting, if you're not using it, it spreads on its own. So if you've got like a 1 acre by, like a 1 by 1 plot of land, or 1,000 feet by 1,000, whatever you want to measure it as, that if under the right circumstances, and it's not you doing any, it sounds like if you're just leaving it alone, it will spread, and that black soil will spread out and it'll go further. And I would really like to either get somebody with a background in that agriculture, that somebody that would have a background in that, and get them to study the shit out of that life soil web thing. It's you can look her up. She's Dr. Elaine Food Soil Web or something like that. But Dr. Elaine that's her first name, and I can't remember what her last name is. You should be able to find like enough stuff on her just by Dr. Elaine Food Soil Web or something like that. And they have done a lot of good stuff. And the way she talks, they go in and they work to create this food soil web, and that is the closest thing and I'm not saying it is what's in Amazon, but that is the closest thing that I have seen talked about that sounds like this terra preta. So like you could maybe use the technology they're doing to look at this, look at this terra preta, do some tests on it, see if they can figure out, what you would have to experiment with to see if you could get that working. But that to me would be a huge thing. And like I'm not kidding you. If I were to win the lottery, unless my health improves, there's a lot of shit I can't do. But if I had way more money than I needed, you could fund somebody. It wouldn't, again, might not even have to work, but you could just try it and see if you could find this stuff. And by God, if you hit it, that would be so cool. That would literally be so cool. Because like that's one of those things about that Dr. Elaine when she talks about what you're doing. And there's another guy. I didn't think about this guy yesterday, and I wish I could remember his name. But when you talk to her, she will explain that like the common wisdom is when you got weeds, you got to get rid of those weeds. And the way she was explaining it, and some of her students were explaining it, that these weeds, they, I think I'm gonna keep that mending one, but the other one we're gonna shit out. But the way they were talking, these weeds like dandelions and that, and I gotta be honest with you, I don't know how much it was what because my brother-in-law and sister with my leg broken, they were, aside from robbing us, they were mowing the lawn out here. Well, really, you can't really make them all these selfless people for doing it, because I might not. I could have started doing it as soon as they put the boot on. I don't know how much it would have bothered my foot. Might have had to ice it up a little bit more. But they sold. It's all supposed to be here for the trust. But they sold the lawnmowers that we had here. So I mean, even with even if I hadn't broken my leg, I had no way to mow the lawn this year, because they basically stole the lawnmowers and sold them. So we had no. It stole. I actually have to go see if I can buy one. It's money for food I don't have then. But they took our snowblower and sold it. We were gonna keep those. She lied to us and told us we were gonna keep those. And then the day of the auction, I found out that fucking lying bitch had lied to our face. And then the day of the auction, found out she was going behind our back to sell that shit. So really for their dishonesty, that was kind of where they left themselves. And sleazy fucking shit. When you look at Donald Trump, you find out that he was like stealing the inheritance from his other family members, like that niece of his. She's like, well, yeah, he took the money that was supposed to go to my dad, his brother, and her dad died I think he might have been older than Trump. When you look at what's going on with that, they did the same thing. She took my mom to a lawyer, had her meet with a lawyer, and then fucking ditched her here, and had all these meetings with the lawyer to set this up, and they set up this trust. And in that trust, it says all this stuff's supposed to be part of the trust now, the house, the stuff on it, the property, and she don't want to live by it. She's the one that went and did this. My mom met with the guy once, and then my sister wheeled and dealed and did this shit. And, and she can lie to herself. She can lie to everybody. That's what fucking happened. And then after she did all this plotting and scheming, apparently with the lawyer, then she took my mom back to sign everything. And I really wish I might be in jail now. My brother-in-law and sister might be dead, but I really wish my mom would have told me, because I think she was warning me, but she was, and again, I can't blame her because she was sick. This should have never happened. That lawyer should be disbarred for doing any of this with as sick as she was. And I'm sorry, if he was too stupid to realize how sick she was, he's too stupid to have a fucking law license. But he did this. But I will say this: when I finally calmed down and actually read through a couple times the trust, he didn't do my sister any favors. He really didn't. And and they're like, there's a thing in there that says they can't sell the house unless we abandon it. Well, they seem to understand that because my brother-in-law and my sister and my oldest brother, they before we got the paperwork, they seemed to be trying to get us to abandon because we didn't know anything about it. And they lied to us. They're like, "Oh, you guys have to move," and my oldest brother like, "Well, yeah, because we have a house. You guys got to move," and blah blah blah. And then we start. And I've said this before. I'm just gonna skim over it. We started having problems with the mail right around this time last year in December, and I didn't know. I honestly had no clue what was going on. But I told my brother, I'd been here. I'd been homesick for 3-4 years, and at this point. And I could count on one hand the number of times we didn't at least get some kind of junk mail. And the it just so, and we weren't getting mail all of a sudden. It was like every fucking day for like a better part of a week. And I told my brother, I go, look, this is unusual. We normally get mail every day, and I go, the days you're home to get the mail, you're not at your dialysis, I go, you need to get your ass out there and get the mail. But I go, the days you're not here, I go, if I'm able, this is before I broke my ankle, I go, I will try to remember to get out there and do it. Well, when I started going out there early, we were getting mail every day. And just, bang. And then I think it took like a week or two. And we got the stuff from my mom's lawyer, not my sister's lawyer, but my mom's lawyer. And we got the copies of the will. We each did. We got the copies of the will, got the copies of the trust. And it kind of clicked, and I figured, well, this is probably why things have been fucked up. And so I quit going out early because we had the mail. And sure enough, as soon as I quit going out early, we stopped getting mail again. I mean, it's all circumstantial, but to me, it's enough. Maybe it was a coincidence. I believe in coincidence, but I kind of believe in them like I believe in God, that they're not, I've never really seen one. And again, as soon as I quit going out early, we stopped getting mail. The days my brother forgot to go out early, we generally didn't get mail in those days, and that just never happened. And then it was like another week or two, so I think they figured, and I'm guessing, I don't know, but I figured that, the scheming, lying, worthless, fucking thieving shitbags, I think they figured out, oh, they must have got it, and then we started getting mail again, but it was another week or two after that. We started getting mail again. And, just sleazy shit, just absolutely sleazy shit. Oh, and that brings me, I got a couple call to actions for the stream. Write everybody, if you don't mind, and this is not a deal breaker. I think this is something that you could actually not want to do for religious, moral, whatever reasons. But if you don't mind, please write your elected officials at all levels and ask them to legalize assisted suicide. I'm not going to go into it in big depth. I'll be doing it again. I try to do it like maybe once a week where I go into a little depth. But, needless to say, we watch kids, die regularly, school shootings. And, rich people can cut people off and let them die if, the insurance company doesn't want to pay the bills or the hospital doesn't want to pay the bills. I watched my mom die in hospice. Please do it. People that are sick like me should have better options when they don't seem to be getting any better and they can't work. And, because of fucking Republicans, we can't get on disability or anything. Just please legalize assisted suicide. Sooner or later, I'm not going to be able to afford shit. I don't want to be homeless. I just watched a video. It was, I'd seen this guy before. He's what you would call a sovereign citizen. And it sounds like he's living in his car. And I don't remember what he did. He was either driving it without a license, registration, driver's license, and they were going to tow his car. And he's like, "Look, this is my home. You can't take my home." And they're like, "Well, you can't drive it on the road unless it's registered. You can't drive it on the public roads unless you have a license." And we've got veterans that are homeless, people that are far more deserving of me than help, and they're stuck they're stuck being homeless. So let's see if we can get that assisted suicide legalized. I don't think. I mean, we're watching these fucking idiots now in D.C. They're in charge. They had a guy who didn't want to deal with the bullshit, and he didn't want to deal with the bullshit, and so he worked with Democrats to pass a budget so we keep the government open. So they fired him. He had like one or two people. I think it was like 20 people total. They voted him out because he did the right thing. And it's a rare thing. This is a guy that's pretty fucking useless, but he did the right thing, and they voted him out. Well, that new guy they got in there, I find this funny. There's a Republican down in Texas. I wish I could think of the guy's name, but he's seeing the dysfunction in his party, and he goes, "I don't think the Lord Jesus Christ could run this group." He goes, I really don't see it." Well, he's been trying for a couple weeks, and they fucked around, and now they're finding out. But he tried to pass some stuff, and they couldn't do it, so now he's trying to do another continuing resolution, and he's trying to fuck that up. It sounds like what he's doing is stupid. It sounds like it's not going to get any support from the Senate. If it comes to the president, he's going to rightfully veto it. But he's still passing it because he's doing what the last guy did that was speaker, that McConnell douchebag. And he's trying to pacify the group of terrorists that he's got in his party. And there's a handful of them saying they're not voting for this. And they're the only reasons that this thing is there. It's the best he can do for them, and it's stupid. It's dead on arrival in the Senate, but it's literally the best he can do for this group of fucking nut jobs he's got in there. And there's one of them. There's one of them. Somebody put a picture of her up on Threads on the phone, and they go, "What do you think she's doing on the phone?" And somebody captioned it and posted it. She's calling the M&M factory, trying to find out why there's all these W's in her bag. And somebody they goes, "Yeah, she probably thinks the M&Ms are woke." And but no, I don't know. I just don't know. But there was something else they were doing, and they basically said I think it was the aid package for Israel, and they were talking to Republicans, and they go, this is dead on arrival when it gets to the Senate. It's never gonna make it to the president. They're not, even the Republicans are not gonna vote on it. Like, even if you put it up for a vote, even if you don't make it subject to the filibuster, it sounds like even the Republicans in the Senate wouldn't have enough. I mean, you're not even going to get they won't even get their whole caucus to vote for it in the Senate. It still wouldn't have enough votes to pass. But at best they might get a half or a third. And they go, why pass this if it's dead on arrival? And there were Republicans, and these are not moderate Republicans. They're kind of on the extreme side, and they're like, yeah, you've kind of hit the nail on the head here. This doesn't make any sense. It's not going to pass. And then and you had this was like on the last shutdown. Well, they're going to do it again, and I'm winding on. I'm sorry, but these fuckers can't even run simple shit. So the idea that you guys are going to get, anything passed that makes sense, that's complex, as long as we've got this Christian caucus of, cult-like Christian caucus of terrorists in there, we're just not going to get anything. So please ask them to legalize assisted suicide. I would appreciate it. I look... we're honestly not going to fix it. And even if you fix it, I watch what my brother goes through. I would get more money than him because I've actually had good jobs and have worked. But I look what my brother goes through. Regardless of how he got here, he's here now. And they don't pay you enough to live on. They just don't. You're going to have to choose between medicine, food, and, a place to live. You got those three choices. You need health care, you need food, and you need a place to live. And you can only really do one of them well. So you're either not gonna starve and be living in a fucking roach motel with no health care. You're going to have health care, but you're going to end up on the street real quick and starve to death. You really don't have any good choices. You don't. So please do that. And then the other thing is reach out. And it's only going to do you good to reach out in the federal government. But reach out and tell those that they need to pass Kristen Gillibrand and Mark Rubio's amendment for the intelligence authorization bill and pass Chuck Schumer's amendment for the defense authorization bill, and let them know that they cannot give amnesty to anybody that broke the law. The only thing they should be doing is the normal immunity and plea deals that are normally offered to any criminal for providing evidence and helping them bag other criminals, especially ones higher up on the food chain. And then the other thing is the way it sounded from the reporting I got, they were going to use eminent domain, and I went through this in my family. They took a chunk of my dad's land to put a bypass in, and the guy that reported on it, and I'm not going to call him out because he's not an American. He's got some other stuff, and he actually knows more about this than I do. It'd be copyright law. But he was talking about it, the most recent one I've seen, where, these guys spent money, you just can't go in and take it. Well, yeah, they can with eminent domain. The only thing is, what they do is they take it, they give you I'm not even going to call it reason, but they give you a sum of money and they go, yeah, here's your money, that's ours now, fuck off now. And it's generally legal. I think it's something they brought over from England when they started our country. I don't care if it's a little bit early. When it's raining like this, you should be able to go sleep. And I guess I shouldn't. The rain usually makes you fish faster, so I guess I shouldn't be too bitchy about it. But I don't want anything creeping up on me as soon as it turns night and then get bit by a creeper or something else. But they should still be able to do it, because this is not something they created. And even if they did create something out of it, it's all based on stuff that was taken from somebody else. That should belong to the country, not individuals. That should be there for all of us, not the rich, the few, the scumbags. And so basically tell them that they need to keep that eminent domain clause in and take all of this shit. It needs to be there for the American people, not the rich fuckers. this is something. Somebody put something up. They mentioned how much Elon Musk was worth, and they go Elon Musk has it's so many. It's like 100 billion or something like that. It's less than 200 billion with a B, but it's way more than 100 billion. And they go, and there's 8 billion people in the world, and they go, he could give every one of them $1 billion, and then they did the math, they're like, and then he would still have like 8 billion less. And let's just say it went from like 170 billion to 162 billion, and that wasn't what the number is, but the thing is, uh, with what's going on, I'm not sure. It seems to me that math is fucked up, but I'm not 100% sure. But it just seems to me that if you got 8 billion people and you took $8 billion away from him, you'd be giving every one of them $1. Um, I I might be wrong, but it just seems like yeah, you know, it just seemed wrong, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's part of what's that, and I would say that's probably on the left. If that wasn't somebody on the right creating it to troll the left, which in this day and age it's possible, but if that came from the left, that's why we got problems because these fuckers can't do math on the far left either, and that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I'm not 100% sure if I'm right, but that seems fucking wrong as hell. And oh, I ain't gonna get up. I forgot to put my fishing hat on. I did that yesterday, but I caught it right away. Yeah, 'cause I've been here. I'm gonna end the stream. I'm gonna go as long as I can, but the stream's well over the halfway point for what I normally go through. So I just can't see the point of getting up. I got and the other thing is like this is the one my dad had. And then we were, I think it was the first time I used one of my coats for it getting colder. I found it's the same style of hat, but it looks like it's made out of denim. It isn't made out of cloth like this one. And, but I found my mom's version of it. It's a blue denim hat. And I've already washed it because the first time I did that, I did the stream and I was wearing his hat and it had been sitting there for years since he died. And after a few minutes, my head was itching. I don't know if it was all my head or if it was real. But I made the comment, I go, yeah, I will be washing this hat after this. So I did. I threw it in the wash on delicate and then let it hang dry in the bathroom. And then when I found hers, the next time I did laundry, when I got all done, I washed that the same way. I put it in on delicate. And then I think I just hung it. Like I didn't go right and get it. I got it the next day, so it had sat in the dryer overnight, and it drained a little bit. And I can't remember if I hung it up on the lid of the washer, or if I hung it up on a box out on the porch. But it's pretty much dry now, so I hung it back up on the wall where I found it. But I got that one washed, so I got like 2 fishing hats I can wear now. And I'm gonna go as long as I can because I would honestly like to get I'd like to get another Mending book, and I'm still working with those villagers over there. I'm working with those villagers over there. What the fuck? Like yesterday, I was doing this yesterday, and sheep and cows and these fucking jackasses. I'm trying to do a fishing stream. I am absolutely trying to do a fishing stream, and I don't think it's too much to ask that you guys would show a little bit of respect for the stream. But, oh my God. But yeah, it's the most recent one. Like, as of today, on my Spotify, I only had to go down like 8 or 10 podcasts, and I found, but just, it's at the top. It's the most recent one. Any of them with Graham Norton. And here's the thing, and this is why for those of you that are, if you're here for the UFO stuff, you have to understand that if you are serious about UFOs, serious about, like the old Mulder thing, you want to believe, or you want the truth or whatever, uh, you need to start getting into that, because something he was talking about in that podcast, uh, he said, the mainstream, and again, a lot of this was shaped by religion, because we've got, they're not scientists, they're not overly bright, but there are people out there that are firmly believing that the Earth is only like 6 or 7 thousand years old, and that, these are people that make, they make like museums where, cavemen are riding on dinosaurs, like the Flintstones. These fucking morons think the Flintstones cartoon is a documentary about, the old Earth, but they only think it's like 6, 7 thousand years old, and the one guy, Richard, and he kind of shit on Richard Dawkins, and I didn't really like that, because I mean, I'm, again, for his piece of the puzzle, Richard Dawkins is not an archaeologist. He's just not. And but he was kind of shitting on him, and I really didn't like that, because I think what he was doing to Richard Dawkins is as bad as what archaeologists do to him. Um, but like with Richard Dawkins, he's another one you should really look into, especially if you are not overly religious. If you are like me, you understand that most of your religions have been bad for humanity. At least, maybe not. There have been good things, but if you were to do like a pro and con thing, like the benefits of it versus the detraction from it, most of your religions, they've done more damage, they've done more harm than they've ever done good. You go back into history, there is evidence that somehow connected to the church. I don't know if they were church knights like the Templars, or if they were just mercenaries, and I don't know if the church technically hired them, or if it was something where people did it on their own to help the church out. But there were armed men that raided and pillaged North Africa, and they just wiped out. There were not just one, there were a series of churches in North Africa, and I can't give you an exact date. I saw this once on the History Channel, and I've even looked and I can't find evidence, but there was something on the History Channel. And again, trust but verify. I'm going from memory. I think I'm right, but I don't know. It's just not a great day today. But so maybe even don't trust me on this. If you can find something on it, great. But I'm trying to give you the best information I have, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But what they had was, they wiped out not one church, but a series of churches. They all had women priests, and they were all dedicated to, it was either the Virgin Mother, Virgin Mary, or Mary Magdala. I can't remember. I think it was Mary Magdala, but it might have been the Virgin Mary, Jesus' mom. It was either Jesus' mom or his special friend. And they wiped them out. They just basically went in and wiped them the fuck out. You look at the Spanish Inquisition. You can go back and look at I don't know. Most of these movies are history porn, but you can go and watch that Queen Elizabeth movie with that really hot. I don't know if she is anymore, but she used to be really, really hot. Australian actress, I think. Australian or English. She's the one who played Galadriel in the Lord of the Rings movies. And she played Queen Elizabeth. Well, they showed the plot by the Catholic Church to have her assassinated. You know, um, you take a look at the Da Vinci Code, where the church had that psychotic creature go around attacking people, and that you know it's a movie, it's a book, it's not technically based on anything real, but it's not that far off the mark. The church has done some evil shit. All of them. Look at what's going on now, where you've got a Muslim group in or near Israel, however you want to look at it. They're basically rocketing their own people because they're trying to get out of the way of Israel. Israel told them, "Hey, leave," and a lot of them tried. They were getting rocketed by their own terrorist group. Hamas was sending rockets at them to get them to stop fleeing. Hamas is building terrorist tunnels under churches and that. And so, Israel's got a choice. They can either, be vulnerable to these terrorists, or they can go in and take out the target and then have delusional people thinking they're the bad guy for blowing up terrorists who are hiding under a fucking church. And then for everybody out there crying, they were talking to Netanyahu and they were asking him about getting those hostages back, because he's made it pretty clear there will be no ceasefire. He'll do these. Again, I don't really like Netanyahu, but I can't really disagree with him on this. But he said that there will be no ceasefire. He'll do these humanitarian pauses to get people out and to get supplies and stuff in, humanitarian aid. But he said there will be no ceasefire. And I really hope that they've got drones or satellites like 24/7 over Israel, so that they can at least try to look for patterns and other stuff, so they know where Hamas is going. Like these humanitarian thing, and they waited for a while. They might have waited until they had that in place. So when they do these humanitarian pauses, Hamas is probably going to get busy. And they'll see it with either the drone coverage or they'll see it with either the satellite coverage. And then they'll know where to hunt. Ukraine did stuff like that. The best one I heard was, this was early in the war, I don't think it works anymore, but Ukraine doctored up their drones and made them look like something out of the Terminator movie. Made it look like something Skynet would be flying to track down the human resistance. And the Russian soldiers, they said, were freaking the fuck out. They were freaking out and fleeing towards their base, and the drone would just slowly and casually follow them. And then when they led them to the base, then they could call in either an attack or a fucking missile strike or something. And they were basically killing a lot of Russians with that, just scaring them. But I really hope that they held off on these humanitarian pauses until they had the method in place where they could basically use it to figure out what's going on and where and hunt these bastards down. But he said today on the news that because they asked him about getting the hostages back, and he said, well, because they go, were you getting anywhere? He goes, I wasn't getting anywhere. He goes, we were talking, and he goes, they were talking, well, hey, if we get a ceasefire, we can let, like 1 or 2 out a week or whatever. And he goes, as soon as we invaded, then we started seeing talks get serious. He goes, as soon as we put boots on the ground to start hunting them down, he goes, then we started seeing serious discussion about getting us those hostages. And not a couple here, not a couple there. So he goes, we'll see. But he goes, from what my people are telling me, it actually started getting serious talking about this after we invaded, after we put boots on the ground. Ugh. I'm a little disappointed. I finally got a Mending book yesterday, and I was really hoping I'd get another one today. Oh well. I might actually work and see if I can maybe next week I'll work and see if I can get that fired up and running, because I'll also get Mending books from that. All books in general, but I might get a few Mending books here and there from that. See, on the last world that I lost, I never put one of these Trident killers in, because the last I knew, those had broken. And I did not want to have to do an unlimited supply of, but the new ones seem to work. And you occasionally might lose one, but it won't be like a regular, because at one point they were basically saying that every time you got done and were going to leave the area, you would have to pick it up. And I'm like, God, what's wrong with me? I'm gonna end up. So like when I made the last one, I did not do it. I manually set it up so I would have to kill him myself. And now it sounds like they got it fixed. So I'm gonna try it. Nothing else. I'll just convert it to where I have to kill him myself anyways. But oh. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, get those amendments passed. Because here's the thing, and I've been kind of rambling. I'm really doing the best I can. I apologize, but the there's people out there, and one way or another, I think a lot of them, I don't really want to call them delusional because they could be right for all I know, but a lot of stuff that's happened in the last couple of years, I think we all got to take just another look at the UFO thing, keep an open mind, and wait and see what the facts are. And if you take anything away from me, take that away. That we gotta wait, and I might not even be alive for it. You might, we might go the Stanton Freeman method where we go our whole lives and don't get any real answers, and that's possible because you used to see the Republicans and Democrats talking about this. They've kind of hidden back under the table on the UFO subject. So I'm not sure we're going to get anything. And this might be the powers that be, the powers that are doing this. They might have the Russian intelligence that was stolen from the Republicans, and they might have the stuff that was stolen from the Democrats, and they might be using it to blackmail them so that we don't get this disclosure, we don't get the amendments, or they're going to change them so that they don't do anything. They're going to find a loophole. This is why these people need to go to jail. This is why, if the people in office want to do the right thing, there we go. If they want to do the right thing, they can't put any get out of jail free cards in for these shitbags. They just can't. Because otherwise, even if we get what we want temporarily, if these guys don't go to jail, what's going to happen is they're going to wait, and sooner or later they'll just start it all up again. Absolutely just start it up again. I'm going to take this back and steal the power off of it. Steal the XP off because that one ain't very good anyways. Okay. But they've gotten real quiet, and one of the Republicans that's been pretty outspoken on this. And I got to be honest, I think he's a decent guy. I think he's someone that if you met him, he'd be a nice guy. Fun, maybe interesting to talk. Definitely worth meeting. I think he's useless on most of the subjects in there, but he's been like a hard charger on this UFO disclosure. Tim Burchett representative from Tennessee. He might be the only representative. I don't know. I think Tennessee might be one of those states where they got 2 senators and 1 representative, but he's been hard charging on this, and the he came out, and this was like a couple months ago. He came out and he said, he seemed a little defeated. He goes, yeah, I think the powers that be are circling the wagon. But this is the thing. We were warned about this by Eisenhower. When he left office, he warned the nation, he warned the world about what he called the industrial military complex. And I don't know if we're going to find anything out about aliens. I really don't. I have no clue. But I am almost sure that if they pass these amendments, if they're written right, we are going to find out about billions and billions of dollars every year. Taxpayer dollars that are stolen and funneled into the military complex, the intelligence network, illegal criminal activities that are being done in our name that are not being reported to the president. They are not being reported to Congress. And it's never going to stop unless these people go to jail. Burchett, he said every year that since they've started auditing the Pentagon, they're at least $1 billion off. Billion with a B, not an M, not million, but billion that is missing every year. And whether or not we get anything about UFOs, whether or not UFOs are real or not, I am positive we're going to find billions of dollars of corruption. We are going to probably find corporations, military people, intelligence people, maybe some that are even in the government, elected or appointed, that are going to need to go to jail over this. Something Burchett said, and I've talked about this before. I'm sorry. I'm just until this is over, until I'm over, I'm gonna keep harping on this. He basically said that they were trying to, and it was something simple. It was absolutely something simple. They wanted to pass an amendment to something. I don't know if it was defense or intelligence or something else. But what they wanted to do was force it's the group that regulates airports, and I cannot think of what it is. But it's the government agency that among other things, they're responsible for airports. Kind of like the energy committee or the energy commissioner is in charge of nuclear power, nuclear weapons, that kind of thing. Well, this would be the one that's in charge of civilian airports. He just wanted them guys that whenever their pilots, well, first they wanted their pilots to start reporting UFOs and for them to track it. And that was a done deal. That was something that was done. Well, they added an amendment to it that would force, when these pilots make these reportings to FAA or FFA is the name of it. It's either two F's and an A or an F and two A's. I think it's the Federal Aviation Authority or something like that. When these reports for UFOs by credible, intelligent pilots were logged, they wanted Congress to get access to it. And he said leadership came up to him, because he was one of the ones driving it. Leadership came up to him and said, "Yeah, we're not going to do that." And he said, if he would have told me that the Intelligence Committee didn't want it, he goes, I would have still probably been upset, but he goes, it would have made sense because, it's more their bailiwick. If the intelligence community didn't want us digging into it, hey, fair enough. But he said it was the intelligence community, unelected officials, Bigfooted it. And I agree, this is probably one of the few times me and him agree on stuff. I agree with him that, now again, when you look at some of the people in the Republican Party, when you look at what Donald Trump did to our intelligence, you can maybe feel why the intelligence community doesn't want it, because Democrats fuck up, but it's like what you see since Trump has come in there, the stuff they did, like, I'm not sure this might have been when Bush was in there too with Cheney, but you had things where Republicans were manipulating the intelligence to falsify stuff. I can't remember if they were doing that under Bush and Cheney, but they definitely started under Trump, where you had that fucking idiot Representative Nunes. He would run somewhere, and he'd be like, well, look what we found. We found this evidence, and it was, the reason you found it is because you took that evidence from, corrupt Republican sources, and you ran it down there and gave it to them, and then right after you gave it to them, you said, look what we found. Yeah, you made it up. It was kind of, this they did do under Bush, but it was kind of like the thing where Dick Cheney would leak a false story to his agents in the media, and then they would write these stories like from Friday, Saturday, Sunday on. So then by Sunday morning, people from the Bush administration could go on TV and go, oh, wow, yeah, we've got, this journalist wrote this, and and we really need to do this so we can get the terrorists and keep us safe. Well, yeah, they could do that because they were the ones that planted the false stories. And I don't know. I don't know, but we need to get going on this because we've had so much shit fucked up. And again, maybe, I think I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know where this is going to go. But if we actually get to the truth, I would say it's at least as possible. We are going to find out that most, if not all, of this UFO stuff are just fictions created by the government so they could steal money. I I'm not saying that that's the truth, but I'm saying I would say it's at least as likely that that's what we're going to find out if we get disclosure. But I also think there's a fair chance, that maybe we will find, something out about UFOs in some way, shape, or form. Um, and when you look at, again, harping on it, but when you look at Graham Hancock, something they were talking about on that podcast, I really recommend you go watch it. They were talking about how the general theory is that humanoids similar to us have only been around for no more than 50,000 years. And what they have found recently is they have found evidence of humanoid life going back 100,000 years. And that kind of threw archaeologists into a twist. And but you have to go and watch it. He'll do a better job talking about than I will. But then the other thing he was talking about was because the other thing archaeologists try and do is they try and say, oh well, yeah, because they've done this with Gobekli Tepe, and he talked about this in there. You've got Gobekli Tepe. This was a megalithic site, and there's all these Tepe sites, and the one guy from Gaia said, well, all Tepe means is mountain. So it's kind of like what the people with the Bible do. They make a big deal of the gospel. And I was talking to somebody that actually knew some, and they go, well, yeah, but the gospel isn't anything religious. Gospel just literally translates to the good news. So like the Gospel of Thomas, or the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, or the Gospel of Judas, there's gospels out there that were never included in the Bible. But all of them, all it is the good news about Thomas, or the good news from Thomas, or the good news from Judas, or the good news from Mary Magdalene. And there's nothing inherently religious about it, other than the fact that when they decided editorially what they were going to put in the Bible, they put certain ones in there. And he said that there is something that has been dated back to like 300,000 years ago, and it is very complex. And they did this. I got lost of thought, but they did this Gobekli Tepe where they originally said that Atlantis can't be real because if there really was a site, an advanced civilization with sites from like 11,000 years ago, there'd be more. And he said, well, then they found Gobekli Tepe and the other Tepe sites, which all date back to the same period. They all date back to like 10, 11, 12,000 years. And he goes, well, then they basically said, well, they were just hunter-gatherers because they can't deny the evidence that these things fucking exist. So they're trying to, and again, you see this a lot from a certain political group where, oh, well, we never did that. And I don't want to get into the political stuff, but there was something going on where, they're like, there was somebody that was allegedly making jokes. Doesn't matter what, but they were supposedly making jokes in private, sort of half jokingly, like there was a guy that was talking about jokes that were made on one politician, and they said, well, a joke had been made, and it was a Republican speechwriter. He worked for Bush. And he goes, well, yeah, but he goes, the thing is, for a joke to be funny, got to be a little truth to it. He goes, that's how jokes about people work. He goes, like, now, if you made a joke about Mitt Romney sexually assaulting women, he He goes, that one wouldn't be funny because there's no evidence of it. Now you could make jokes about, Mitt Romney driving his dog around until he pukes on the hood on the roof of the car because there's some truth to that. You could absolutely do it. And so you got that, but I lost my train of thought. I apologize. But with this Göbekli Tepe, they found these sites, and they originally, well, yeah, these are hunter-gatherers. These weren't advanced people, but well, then how did they build it? How did they have this advanced knowledge so they could line buildings up with true north, not magnetic north, but true north? And they don't have any answers for that. Well, he was saying, and this is the first I'd heard this, he was saying that now they're saying and you got to watch it because I can't give you the exact names of this, but there's another group of humanoids, and they're saying, oh, well, it's just progressional. First, because he said these people built like stone walls, and they built some stuff. And he said, well, yeah, that they're just, they're the predecessors of Göbekli Tepe. And he goes, these people, if you go and look at it, they built stone walls much like you can see all over England, like we're building now. And he goes, you can't credibly say that people went from making little stone walls like you see in England all the time, and then 10 years later we're making huge monolithic sites with no mortar and 100-ton stone blocks perfectly fit together without mortar that can survive earth. And he goes, you just can't. You can't be taken seriously by in any means by me. And but that's what they're doing now. And he made the comment that one of the things that you got to distinguish is between there just being humans and there being intelligent humans. And one of the things he was talking about was these. Again, you got to watch it. He'll talk about it. It's well worth it. I'm at least halfway through it now, and it's well worth it. It really is. And he said the writing on it, what they appear to be trying to pitch to people in it. It's advanced thinking. He goes, and that was one of the things he brought up. That you got the talk of just having humanoids, but having something like an advanced species. And this clearly fits the case, and this goes back to 300 years. And he goes, if you've got somebody, whether they're credible or not, whether they know what they're talking about or not, if they're saying that, we only existed for 50,000 years, he goes, it makes it a lot harder to make the case for an advanced civilization. But he goes, if we're seeing evidence that we go back, or something intelligent goes back 300,000 years, he goes, now it becomes a lot more credible that there are these hidden cultures that were advanced, that were lost. And it was really, really good talk. Really, really good talk on that. And and the other thing, and I can't remember what I was watching, I think this was on the History Channel. I think it might have been one of those Ancient Aliens Decoded, but they were talking about somebody has discovered that down the road, if I can get enough information to actually do a whole podcast, I'll do it. But they were talking about somebody had figured out that DNA doubles in size every so many years, or every so many hundreds of years, and they figured it out. It's got to do with DNA. It's got to do with scientists, credible scientists that know what they're talking about. And here's the thing. Down the road, maybe they'll find out he was slightly wrong, and they'll adjust it, or they'll throw it out and come up with something better. But right now, that's the best evidence they have. And what they found was, in their opinion, based on the evidence they have, that they can go back and trace it. They can go back, okay, well, if this is what it is now, half of that, half of that, half of that, half of that. for our DNA to have evolved at that rate, as long as it wasn't slower in the beginning, if it if it doubled, it's kind of like the battery thing where like every 6 months the capacity doubles. Or I can't remember what that was, but it was somebody came up with that law for hard drives that every 6 months or every year or something like that, hard drive capacity doubled, and there's a law for that. And what they found was if they're right and they did the math right, it would have taken something like 9 billion years for our DNA to get to where it is now. And the best evidence is that this planet is only 4 billion years old. So if they're right, they are basically saying that the DNA here did not come from here. The DNA that makes us what we are came from somewhere else. And I don't know if I'm gonna keep it or not. Hang on. Oh no, I'm not keeping any more of those Curse of Vanishing. But that was another thing. But when you look at just the different evidence coming out, where they're talking about our we're just the planet ain't old enough uh, for our DNA to even exist as it is. And then you find out that they found these writings that are like 300,000 years old, and other stuff, where they're clearly older than what the common wisdom thinks. And then you hear people talking about Bob Lazar, where he thinks at least some of the spaceships that he was working on, or that he thought they had, because I think he only worked on one. And this again, I'm not trying to shit at anybody. I'm not saying this is Bob Lazar, because it's these people can manufacture some good shit when they want to, and he can be sure of what he saw. And there was somebody who was talking about it. They said, well, yeah, he's really sure about the stuff he saw, but the stuff that they told him, the stuff that he read, he's not sure he believes it. It is what it is, but he's firmly of a belief of the stuff that he could physically touch, the stuff he could run tests on and shit like that. But somewhere in there, it was presented to him, whether it was something he read that maybe he wasn't supposed to, or something he was told, or something that he was allowed to read. Because that was one interview they were talking about. They said, well, there was all this stuff that he could go in and read. It sounds like he was allowed to, but it wasn't a priority for what they wanted him for. But one of the things that came out of the discussion was that at least one of those UFOs that they had where he was at S4, they said it was part of an archaeological dig. So something like Stargate, something like Indiana Jones, where somebody was digging and they found a spaceship, buried under dirt like 100,000 years ago or something like that. And I don't know. I literally don't know. But if you follow people like, I really recommend that you, and don't take my word for it, come to your own conclusion. Hopefully you'll come to a good conclusion. But you don't want to follow every fucking idiot. You just don't. Hey, come on, I'm trying to do a fishing stream here. Can't you show a little fucking respect? My goodness. All chickens go to heaven. And but if you follow this, if the stories about Bob Lazar are true, that they have found at least one or more of these in an archaeological dig, if you want to know the truth about alien civilizations, higher cultures and whatnot, as these guys dig, as these guys find this stuff, they may lead us to a place where they basically find out that yes, Atlantis was real. The Anunnaki were real. We've got evidence. Here's the stories. Here's the proof. And you may find out there that one guy from Guy, he was saying that some dude he knew talked to a tribe that had kept like an oral history, and they were saying that this this cycle of advanced intelligence is something that goes over and over and over again. Like every 30, 50,000 years, like the thing is reset back to primitive and they start over. And, maybe that's coming. I gotta be honest with you, with the shit that I've experienced in my family, the shit that I was working at GM, the shit that I see going on a regular basis in the world, if there is an advanced race out there that kind of seeded us here, the shit that I'm seeing going on in that game on Ebony, just horrible people making shit up so they can, basically harming people so that they can have fun in a game. This advanced species, I'm not so sure it wouldn't be a good thing if they wiped us out and started over. You got bad people. I mean, now there are not as many, but you've got bad people in the Democratic Party. You've got good people in the Republican Party, but there's still a few bad people in the Democrats, and there's a whole shitload of fucking domestic terrorists in the Republican Party. You got people that should be proud to be Americans that talk like because they can't force their fucking religion on other people, they want to leave the Union. I firmly believe that if there's like some kind of an advanced thing out there, maybe they should hit the reset button. For all the good stuff we've got from our culture, there is just so much bad. Just so much fucking bad. I don't know. And you got good people out there that are fighting it. You really do. But like, I was fighting for quality when I worked at GM, and I'm pretty sure I got drugged or poisoned for it. They tried to fire me for it. Just so, you had people down there that could, at least it sounded like. I can only go by what I was told and what I saw. But you were people down there were bragging that you had people that were connected to the fucking corrupt law enforcement in Indiana that were getting GM management people out of like speeding tickets, probably drunk driving tickets, that kind of thing. And they were given all this overtime and special treatment at work. That's probably why I really don't know, but that's probably why some of those women were be given a pass. Because they probably had friends in the government or friends in law enforcement, so they get away with that shit. Like, oh yeah, we'll make sure you guys don't have any tickets while you're rolling around in the company car doing illegal shit. You just gotta, basically give these girls jobs they don't deserve, overtime they don't deserve, yada yada yada, this, that, and the other thing. And then I got caught in the crossfire on it. And I'm sorry, we had a contract. They had an obligation to build. To build according to that contract, and this special treatment, well, it was a quid pro quo thing, but it was against our contract. And anybody in the union that was going along with it should be fired, maybe go to jail. They should be fired, and if they've already retired, they should lose their fucking pensions for that. Legally, I don't know if you can do it, but morally, that should happen. It really should. Same thing with the people in management that were doing that, and if they retired, any benefits they get for retiring, they should fucking lose that shit. Again, legally, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but morally, that shit was fucking wrong. You take a look at what happened to me legally. I reported it to the FBI, So you make what you want. But this is like when they talk about these people on January 6th, oh, well, so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. And they're like, hey, she went and testified under oath to Congress. You can go to jail for that. And again, I told him, like, here's what I know. I don't know if this is going to prove anything, but this is what I saw. This is what I experienced. This was 4 or 5 years ago. Nobody fucking harassed me for making a crank call. I am willing to admit that I probably didn't have enough proof. And if they investigated it, if you got everybody in there fucking lying, I can't fucking stop that. But, it is what it is. And, but those people that did this to me, if they could ever figure out, those people they either need to spend, most of their life in jail, or they should just fucking die for what they did to me. As far as I'm concerned, it just is what it is. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I was actually in a pretty good mood until I drifted here, and trying to do the stream and not being able to remember shit. And, oh well. Peace out. Hope everybody has a good day. If you're watching this on Twitch, again, I'm not looking. Money is wasted on me. If you wanna do something to help people out, do it to people that's got a better future than me. If you want to help out, honor those call to actions. Help me out that way. Maybe hit the follow button. Check out a stream once in a while. Come and watch it afterwards, so I get the credit for people viewing it. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're on Twitch, go over to YouTube. Check the videos out there. Subscribe to me on YouTube. All the free stuff, and that helps. Makes me feel better. And watch the videos. Maybe give a comment. If you think I'm wrong on something or if you got something to add to it, do it. Uh, and we'll just go from there. But peace out and hope everybody has a good day.